Now, what we were not impressed with was what Lara Logan said about Michael Hastings, the Rolling Stone reporter who broke McChrystal's story yesterday. I went a little ballistic on that yesterday, if you watched the program. Now, someone else has done the same. Matt Taibi from Rolling Stone, and he joins us now. Matt, how are you?
How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. Your title pretty much says it all, but I'm going to ask you about it anyway. The title of your blog today is Lara Logan, You Suck. So, let's expand upon that. Why do you think she sucks?
Well, she went on television and she basically said that, that major military figures are entitled to an unspoken agreement with journalists that the journalists won't publish anything that might embarrass, the military or the troops, which is insanity. And I think it really speaks to kind of the larger attitude of the press corps in general these days. I think there's just sort of a new generation of reporters that really thinks it's their job to kind of work collegially with the people that they're covering, as opposed to being a watchdog.
Now, Geraldo Rivera was very mad at Michael Hastings too. He said he was a rat in an eagle's nest. And he compared him to Al Qaeda, who had blown up some of our allies, and they're basically saying he'd blown up McChrystal. But what I found more interesting is he said that his standard was that you should never report anything that wasn't strictly on the record, meaning not everybody knows you don't report stuff that's off the record, but the military person has to specifically tell you this is what is on the record and nothing else, right? What do you think about that standard?
Well, that's a lot of crap. I mean, every journalist, every beginning journalist knows that the basic rule is unless somebody says to you this is off the record, it's on the record. And let's be clear about one thing: this whole on-the-record, off-the-record business. This is a matter of individual ethics. It's not a matter of law. So if somebody says that something's off the record, you shouldn't bet your house that it's not going to end up in print anyway. I mean, this whole discussion is academic, but Rivera is dead wrong anyway. A whole bunch of guys who should know better, sitting in front of somebody they know is a reporter. If they don't say expressly that what they're saying is off the record, it's on the record, and everybody knows that. Every beginning journalist knows that.
Matt, I was trying to figure out why, as with the whole country was, why McChrystal said the things that he said. It seems so unbelievably foolish. But I think I came to that conclusion watching Lara Logan, and, aided by some of the listeners who emailed in and said this. It's not so much that he's cocky. Well, sure, that's true. But he now has an understanding that the journalists work for him.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? That he got so comfortable in the new journalism, which is just stenography, and that you don't actually report anything, that's probably why he assumed, well, of course, if he's a reporter, he's going to do exactly what I tell him to do.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that that's absolutely the case. I mean, look, the reporters who are embedded, and I've been an embedded reporter before, it's a very bizarre situation. Like literally your life is in the hands of the people that you're covering, and they can place all kinds of restrictions on you, from content to your physical security to your movement. So the dynamic is very, very strange to begin with, and I think the fact that the military is used to literally controlling every aspect of the reporters' lives. It creates this dynamic where reporters end up almost having like a Stockholm syndrome kind of a relationship with the people they're covering. And I think they get these generals, they get used to the idea that these embedded journalists who are hanging around aren't going to do anything that's going to make their lives difficult. And that's in that context, I can understand what happened very easily. Also, yeah, I mean, if you throw alcohol into the mix with his aides and everything, that's another reason why you can understand.
Although
that.
Only one of the comments, which is actually a positive comment, was when they were drunk.
Right.
And that's when they said they die for one another, which is not that big a deal at all. I mean, that's a good thing.
Right.
And but now, look, a lot of people are throwing Rolling Stone under the bus. You work for Rolling Stone. You write articles for them. And they're saying you guys are, don't respect the regular rules of what's on the record and off the record, and O'Reilly saying, oh, well, obviously you're all anti-war leftists, and that everybody should know that the Rolling Stone is hatchet men, etc. So, first, of course, I want you to address that. But secondly, where do you draw the line? And where does Rolling Stone draw the line as to what is and is not on the record and what you can and can't say?
Our rules aren't any different than anybody else's rules. Again, well, first of all, it depends on the individual journalist. Like for instance, I often work with sources, and I'll say something like, just so that you feel comfortable, let's agree that everything that you say is off the record, and then if I want to use something later on, I'll come back and ask your permission. Like I'll sometimes do that with sources. I mean, it changes all the time, but it has to be an explicit arrangement. If there is no explicit arrangement, if you are reporting on somebody and you don't have a conversation with them at the outset about what the ground rules are, well, then the ground rules are obvious. Unless you say to the person, this is off the record, and unless you say it ahead of time, then it's on the record. I mean, this whole business about McChrystal sending an email later on, or his aides sending an email saying, we don't want you to publish the fact that he voted for Obama. Well, I mean, every journalist knows that there's no ex post facto thing there. I mean, you can't come back to somebody afterwards and say, I want to be off the record on that. You have to say that beforehand.
Matt, you keep saying every journalist knows this. I think almost no one does. I mean, and I don't mean that in a bad way against you guys. I mean in a bad way against the establishment press. I mean, and I want you to react to that. I mean, it's not just Lara Logan. It's universal disdain for Michael Hastings from the establishment press. They're all saying, I can't believe that he would throw these guys on the bus and that he's violating their trust. Now, so, I mean, how do you react to that press?
The reason I'm laughing is just the perversity of that whole idea, because the trust, your primary trust that you have to worry about not breaking is between you and your readers. These are the people that you work for and that you represent. The people that you cover, and you're a watchdog against those people. You are there to watch their behavior and to report on it and see if it coincides with publicly announced policy, to make sure that everything's on the up and up, that they're not being corrupt. You are not supposed to have an unspoken trust arrangement with the subjects that you're covering. It's just not supposed to work that way, and it blows me away that people think that there is that kind of arrangement.
Well, that seems to be the established practice now. I want to ask you something that was in your blog that I didn't know. You say here that the Pentagon employs 27,000 people to do PR.
Right.
And in 2009 spent $4.7 billion on PR. That can't be right.
That is right, and in fact, you'll be interested to know that Fox News is actually the source that I use for that information. If you'll look in today's Washington Post, you'll see that they're spending $1 billion this year on psyops alone, and that's mostly advertising in war theaters like Afghanistan and Iraq. But they have an additional $3 to $3.5 billion that they use for ordinary PR purposes, and they have a massive public relations apparatus in the Pentagon that, again, is almost the size of the State Department.
So what are they? Okay, so if they do psyops in Afghanistan or Iraq, I get that. Whether we agree with that or not is a different question. But what do they use the other giant part of it for? Is it psyops here, or seriously?
No, I mean it's everything from sponsoring documentaries about World War II to helping fund motion picture projects to public education programs, putting out calendars and flyers in public schools here and abroad. I mean, the Pentagon has a gigantic PR apparatus involved in. I mean, that's why when you turn on the television and you see all all these shows about fighter planes and the best weapons available in the world. I mean, the military has some kind of role in almost all of these video projects. And additionally, they have a veritable army of spokesmen ready to answer questions from the press. Far beyond their capabilities in this area are far beyond that of anybody else including the White House, which is impossible to get a straight answer out of. They have people available to take your questions at the Pentagon all the time, and for every branch of the military. And so they have this major PR capability and they don't need to have journalists working for them as well.
So, as you explained here, the 27,000 people working for in PR in this Defense Department, that's almost as large as the entire State Department,
right?
Which is only 30,000 people. Gates is always talking about, oh, geez, where can we cut defense? Which I like that kind of talk. But
right.
Isn't this an obvious place where we can cut them?
Well, I would think so, but the number, it keeps going in the opposite direction, and I would imagine that that's probably not going to be where they're going to cut. If they're going to cut anywhere, right now they're having a terrible, or at least in the last 5 years or so, they've been having a terrible problem recruiting, and that's another area where they use that public relations money is trying to buy commercials to appeal to young people who are getting out of high school or thinking about joining the Army. That's an area where they really do need to spend a lot of money because they have this tremendous shortfall of new recruits for obvious reasons. Nobody wants to go get killed in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I would imagine that's not going to be where they're going to cut.
I read Michael Hastings' article, and it seems Afghanistan is going swell. And of course, people are missing the larger story there, which is that even McChrystal's guys think that it's a lot worse than anyone in America recognizes. That's the most important quote in the whole article, and it seems like the press missed that entirely. Matt, I want to ask you one last question. We're talking to Matt Taibbi from Rolling Stone. They say McChrystal wasn't that PR savvy, and Lara Logan said, he's like a babe in the woods. And what would he know? Geraldo, same thing, etc. But I thought I read that he ran the PR for the Pentagon during the beginning of the Iraq War.
If that's true, I didn't know that. Then I'm hearing that from you for the first time. But even if he wasn't PR savvy, so what? This guy occupies an incredibly important position. It's not our job to make sure that this guy only gets softballs from the press. This is a gigantic war that we're fighting. He wanted to expand the number of troops to 150,000. This is a major policy effort that we never ever hear anything about, and we're supposed to soft pedal this guy just because maybe he's not very good with the press. Although now you're telling me that he has experience. It testifies to a tremendous change in the culture of journalism, and I don't want to drag this on too much, but I grew up around journalists. My father was one, and back in the 70s, you would never have had this kind of attitude. There was this iconoclastic attitude that reporters had towards power, and now it is completely the opposite, and people should be ashamed of themselves for feeling this way and behaving this way towards Hastings.
Well, then let me throw one more thing at you. Do you trust anything you see on television news?
I trust a lot of the facts that I see on news, but that's not really the issue. It is not the factual accuracy of what you see on television. It's always the emphasis. It's always the choice of facts. That's the issue. What they choose to emphasize and what they choose to tell you is what's important. And there was once upon a time when news agencies thought that their role was to challenge the people in power and really look into things. And nowadays, news organizations are mostly about making money, and they figured out that access is the easiest way to do the news content, and they don't challenge power. That's why they missed the financial crisis before it happened. That's why we never see anything about corruption in the contracting world or anything like that. They can make the money without having to do that hard work, and that's why we're just not seeing it. It's incredibly depressing.
All right, Matt Taibbi from Rolling Stone, and certainly Matt and Rolling Stone are doing their part to try to change that culture and bring back real journalism. So thanks for joining us, Matt. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.